wanted to evolve to revolution, so you attempted reform movements, end the military. No tax exemptions for the churches or anybody else. That was a popular one. After all, you consider organized religion as dangerous entertainment. And at the same time, you created a strong paramilitary organization. Pacifists in practice, using the law, using civil disobedience against the law, but if attacked, you'd fight. And you proved it especially in the spring of 1990 on the West Coast. Very impressive. All this was very effective. But we felt the inertia of power could overcome your hope for utopia, and through frustration create terror and tyranny.
The room had warmed only a small amount. She really hadn't heard the last two sentences. She had been watching his lips form the words, and each sound lifted separately by his tongue and fumbled out his mouth, out from under an evenly clipped mustache. His ears moved slightly as he talked, and though this was interesting and probably politically significant, she could not help from being bored, and yet couldn't repress a tingling smell of fear. Fear that this was all too serious yet stupid. Why did she have to deal with this lunatic, and alone yet?
And what's to prevent you from swaying from the lofty task of guiding humanity?
Nothing, but we're an old organization. Our efforts are proved. Older than the OSS, the CIA, the KGB, as old as some of the finest secret orders. We represent a consistent stream. And we are not monolithic. If the system cannot handle the transaction of self-interest, a faction will argue a corrective action.
And if not?
And if.
His sneer loomed and hovered on his face behind his grunted phrases.
There have been mistakes, but in the balance, humanity has moved ahead.
And this talk with me, what's its purpose?
To recruit you. Your organization must dissolve or function as we desire. You will be useful to us either way. To humanity.
And if not?
A favorite phrase of yours, I see. Only one of us will leave here if not. Your group will be disruptive to the future. You've served your purpose. It's much the same deal Lenin made with the German secret police in World War I, for them to transport him to Russia. Only he forgot that war is simply an economic tool, and that his pledge went beyond the life of the Kaiser or the government. He was shot for deviating from the plan. Just as Trotsky was an idealist who had to be eliminated, and Lin Piao as well. You should understand that you were a lobby for anarchy. And besides, you were never able to define a post-revolutionary role for yourselves that was convincing and consistent with anarchist philosophy.
But you embody everything we've meant to destroy. You are a perpetual government.
No! Our role is to prevent humanity from making complete disaster. We're really non-political. We are pragmatists. You revolutionaries would, and have in the past, punish the people for not being capable of the freedom you desire to reign. We represent true democracy. We allow the people, the mass of them, to do what they want within bounds. The mass of humanity are still animals. Few are aware of the greatness achieved in art, culture, and science. You can view it that they are either children yet who must be taught to handle the immense toys of destruction they possess, or that they are degenerate forms of a humanity which moves in cycles of creativity, never producing but a few bright lights of intelligence. We've always had to protect the people from the idiots they elected. What do you think would have happened if people like Nixon had really had a free hand as president? It's frightening to imagine.
You show an amazing contempt for this humanity you speak of. It's just the restraint you impose in history that we have always held creates the degeneration of humanity. You maintain a selection for individuals of authority, for dominance. The hierarchy of the status quo is the order you protect. Even a generation of chaos would be preferable.
You who fought so hard against the chaos of capitalism opt for chaos now? Don't you think that chaos would create a hierarchy of brutality? A return to the dark ages of savagery?
And yet your ultimate solution to this situation is fairly savage. Don't you think my elimination will cause repercussions?
Already defeatist. The answer is no. This contest is not unique. It is going on between many of your comrades and mine. One position will triumph, one way or the other. It's a contest of strength and stability.
The social revolutions of human society have always been destroyed or perverted by outside pressures. Whether they were the communes of medieval times or the risings of whole nations, as in Russia in 1917 or Hungary in 1956, now we have incited the lust for freedom in the people again, and you are prepared to eliminate the kernel of combustion we possess.
You are social romantics. You continue to speak as if there were absolutes of truth and justice, something to clean your dirty ass on. Do you really believe everything you've done has been justified by the pure reason of some a priori standard like a religious gospel? Look!
Shouting, he shakes his fist at her, and she lamely smiles, expecting the worst to begin.
There's no truth in this. I thought you were sensible. Don't let this get emotional. We can get mileage out of you. It's like a job. You fit into the picture. You anarchists always let yourselves get destroyed over trifles like ethics. This is a question of power and what counts. It's just the same to us to use you as we use the KKK and racism, the Catholic Church in Poland, and anti-abortion in the 70s.
Even if you win and murder me, won't that be provocation for just the kind of mistakes you were hoping to avoid by your presence? It was the terror against Marat that created the terror of the left and destroyed the French Revolution. Marat was speaking for the people to act to protect themselves. He ordered no one, nor did he wish to do so. His death created no anarchist reaction, for Chonet and Klootz were consumed in what followed early on. And the anarchist terror of the 1880s and 90s in reaction to the terror of militarism against syndicalism was unorganized. Now, if you strike against us, you will provoke organized terror, something that has had no modern equal.
No modern equal?
Something like what the Mayans did to their priest-wise men when they revolted against the conspiracy of domination and perversion they were building. The Mayan people murdered them all and abandoned the tainted civilization they had evolved to the jungles, to be discovered by the Spaniards years later. Certainly this would be better to do now than to have power-lusting lunatics gain complete control of a nation armed with neutron bombs and chemical, gas, and bacterial warfare. A system dedicated to domination at all costs and desiring a Judeo-Christian destruction by fire.
But we promise order. An order you can no longer avoid or deny.
We'll see.
You've no alternative.
At that, she rose abruptly, and he threw a karate punch at her face. She caught his fist and pushed slightly with one hand at his shoulder, holding his wrist until his struggles turned his arm, and it popped gently from its socket, and he fell to the floor, screaming. She ran into the corridor, lunged against a door which gave, and she fled desperately for freedom or